I'm Thursday all day. Okay. One cousin. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Every girl.
Ready for 2 more? Once they come back, I want to tell you guys about some awesome things that we have planned for you all. So this I hope is fun. I hope you guys are having fun so far. I hope you've learned something.
Ask them.
Well, we learned it in the very first slide. They all learned about lines, and so they learned something new. What's your favorite thing that you've learned so far? More than one type of line? What's your favorite thing that you've learned so far? Continuous lines.
I was gonna say I like cross-hatching.
Cross-hatching. Cross-hatching. Doodling. doing the one continuous line. That part? Yeah.
Like
hashing and cross-hatching.
Yeah. I like the continuous lines.
Continuous lines.
The little drawings that we did in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something that you think you could create more comic book stories with it?
I don't know about all that, but
Oh. And I think over here I heard the biggest, I can't do that. And it's her favorite thing so far. I love it. So it's fun to get to use your workbooks. It's fun to get to learn in the classroom. But the whole point of what we're doing is for you to grow and be able to do more, correct? So that you can create your own art, your own masterpieces. Well, we want to have a graduation celebration for you for when you finish this class. Okay? And part of that graduation celebration is we have the Connecticut Art Gallery is going to sponsor all of you, in addition to the Ungroup Society. And we are going to have a graduation celebration where everybody's going to have their own art exhibit. So everybody will be able to display and have their own section. And you can display not only work that you learn about and you draw here in class, but other work that you've done. The Connecticut Art Gallery is my home base for where I do my paint parties. It's based out of Thomaston, above Krabby Al's, right on Main Street. And he has an art gallery, and he has a children's and young adult section. And the great thing about that is that he is offering space to all of you to be able to present your work. And he has people that come in and buy the art off the walls. So you can have your art pieces put up onto the walls. And he has galleries all over the state of Connecticut. And he's offering that any work that you guys do, he's offering you guys wall space to be able to sell your works of art.
Me sell?
That's the girl that wants the money. But so we're gonna have an art gallery graduation where everybody will be able to come out and see your work. You're gonna be able to invite your friends, your family, your classmates, or your teachers. You can invite anybody that you'd like to come see the work. We're gonna have a big party. Does that sound like fun?
Yeah, candy.
Yeah, I get dressed up.
Yes, and we're gonna get dressed up like red carpet. Everybody gets to get dressed up in whatever you'd like to wear. No, this is fancy dress. This is fancy with the, oh yeah. If they buy your art, yes. Like, think of it as if you're going to a dance. Do you have school dances? Well, you can dress up that much. Absolutely, if that's what you want. You can make a star. Awesome. So, that's going to be our final graduation. That'll be our last party. That is something that Alicia is working towards. That's her project that she's going to put together for the class, and that's going to be her party that she's putting together so that we can all celebrate not only what we've done over the past 8 weeks, but any work that you've done on your own at home. The one last surprise is that I am going to ask for everyone to do a final project. Okay? This isn't a final exam, but this is a final project. Your final project is going to be anything that you choose. We're going to be going over a lot of information. Today we're going over lines, shapes, shading. So next week we're going to be going over perspective and proportions. That's how things look and how to know how big or small they have to be and how to make sure everything in the picture looks correct. So we don't have a head this big on a body this big. Okay? We're going to learn how to do that. We're going to learn how to make something so that it looks so that a tree that's far away is drawn smaller so it looks like it's far away versus a tree that's up here, it's going to look a lot bigger. Okay? That's for week 2. Week 3, that's when we introduce color. So for this week and next week, we're not using any color. Everything is done with pencils. Pencils only. So that's part of the reason that I wanted to talk to you because I do have art kits for everybody. But you have to make a promise to me. You can only use the pencils. You can't use the colored pencils yet. You got to save them.
So I can't use
So you're going to use the pencils. I'm going to show you a kit, and we'll go through them at the end. Everybody's going to go home with their kits. Ready? This is your kit. Yes.
Yes, I'd like to add something. Because I always say stuff like this because y'all need to know the value of things. Tell them what that kit costs.
This kit was $75.
Each one of those kits
Each one
is
of those kits.
$75. How many of those kits do we have?
We have currently
all of them
17.
together like
Hold on.
17 kits.
I'm very bad at math. $75.
$75 times 17 kits.
So, can everybody hear me?
yes.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
That's $1,275 worth of kits that we bought because we trust you and we know that you're going to take care of them. Is that correct?
What?
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah? No?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Take care of them. They're your kits. When this whole class is over, you get to keep them. When we do another class, we'll buy more for the next set of students. But I just think it's important that y'all know, you understand the value of some of these things. We went and we got you the very best art kits that were available, knowing that you're going to take care of them and you get to keep them. Okay?
In your art kits, you're going to receive a real nice drawing pad.
Can I draw it?
Okay? So you're going to have a drawing pad of paper. Okay? You're going to learn about these later on. But there's blending sumps, also called tortillions. They look like pieces of rolled up paper. Okay? Everybody will have a pencil sharpener, a vinyl eraser, and a kneading eraser. I'm going to teach you how to use them. And that's part of the reason that I want to make sure that we save the materials, because I will be teaching you how to use each one of the items that are in these kits. You have 3 rolls in your kits. Your first roll is a roll of pencils.
Wait, what is it?
Nope, there's no erasers on these. So,
Oh, no.
your first set of pencils is you have a set of regular pencils. Your next roll is a roll of colored pencils.
Oh, we can't use it.
And then you have a third roll. And these pencils I think are really cool. These are metallic pencils. So you have metallic colored pencils. And then here at the end we have neutral tones. These are great for being able to do skin tones. So you have white, you have mahogany, light sepia, and dark sepia. So that's what these are pencils that we can use for that. But I would like to teach you how to use them and how to use them correctly. I'm actually going to teach you the correct and incorrect way on how to color with colored pencils. Okay? There is a correct and incorrect way to get the most coverage using your pencils. So I'm not trying to be mean, but I'd like to teach you. And my question to you is, do you think that you can take care of your kits without using the materials until you're taught to use how to use them? The very last thing that's in your kits we need to talk about. Out of everything in your kits, this is the messiest. I'm sorry, parents. Okay? These are called soft pastels. You have soft pastels. You also have charcoal. And you also have graphite. So you have graphite sticks, charcoal sticks, and then you have soft pastels. These, again, are things that we're going to learn how to use. But you have to listen. This is important. They are messy. I encourage everyone to make sure that you stop at the dollar store. If you don't have a chance to stop at the dollar store, let me know, and I will give you a tablecloth. When you're using these at home, you have to use a tablecloth because it's got a lot of chalk residue, and you really want to not have to worry about getting it on the wood table. You don't want to have to worry about getting it on the glass. It's much easier to have a piece of plastic down on the table, and this way it's easier to clean it up. Okay, and then you just fold up the tablecloth, and then you only use that tablecloth for when you're using these materials.
We can also use it outside.
This is not chalk that you use outside. You can draw out. But I still suggest using a tablecloth. But yeah, this isn't the so we're gonna start introducing in week 3 is when we introduce color. Okay? Next week is when we're actually gonna use the soft charcoal and the hard charcoals and the graphites. And we're gonna experiment and use that next week. This week, it's just going to be the colored pencils, which are in the gray. Okay? So everybody will be able to, we're going to talk about it towards the end of class. We're going to go through and learn about the different pencils and what they do, and they all have numbers on them and what the numbers mean. So you'll be able to use your gray pack, your kneading eraser, the vinyl eraser, and your pencil sharpener, and your and your drawing pad. Okay? How do you guys feel about that? You think you'll be able to restrain yourselves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then everybody will get to bring home their kits today. Okay. I was leaving it up to you. If you guys told me that you couldn't, and you're like, oh no, I can't do it, I give you a whole lot of credit. And I say, okay, let's leave the kids here, you just take home just the piece. So I wanted to leave that up to you guys. That's why I wanted to ask you. Okay? So with all of that being said, we've got lots of exciting stuff planned for you this year. Okay, for the next 8 weeks. I am super excited to get to be your teacher. I'm really excited to see how far you're going to go. I mean, we've already covered so much in just the past hour, right? We've learned a lot of stuff. Yes.
I made it today.
Very nice. I love it. So, what we're going to do is the next thing that we're going to start talking about is shapes. So it seems pretty simple. You're telling me, okay, we started with lines. I knew what lines were. Maybe I learned a little bit. Now you're going to tell me what a shape is. I know it's shapes. But let's talk about them a little bit. Because shapes are done with lines.
Really?
So they're just done with lines. It's a curved line. A circle is just a curved line, but it's still one line. Okay? Shapes are two-dimensional. Does anybody know what two-dimensional means? What does two-dimensional mean?
Oh. Like non-3D doesn't pop out.
It's flat. It's two-dimensional. It's just on the one plane. It's on one plane. It doesn't. You only see the one side, right? But to make something, so they have only the length and only the width. Okay. So all shapes will fall into one of two categories. Did you know there's two categories of shapes? No. There's geometric or organic. Who can tell me the difference? Does anybody know?
No.
No. Okay. Geometric shapes. They're shapes that are easy to figure out what they are. A circle, a square, a rectangle. We know what they are. They have a name, don't they?
Yeah.
So if it's a shape that has a name, it's geometric.
Okay.
Okay? They have a specific name like circles, triangles, squares, trapezoids. Many man-made objects are made in the form of geometric shapes. Think about my book. How about my mouse? The TV. These are all man-made objects. They're all geometric shapes. My cell phone.
Rectangle.
Yeah. Okay. Wheels.
Circle.
They're all geometric shapes. So, we're going to go to exercise number 4.
Wait, wait.
Exercise 4.
Oh.
Okay. Exercise 4 is geometric shapes.
Oh.
I'm going to challenge you. Okay. If you look at the page, we are going to go through, and I'm going to do it on the backboard. Okay. I'm going to erase the backboard, and I'm going to follow along and do it with you. But we're going to do exercise number 4, and we're going to create the shapes. Okay. So if you can draw it, you can start now. But if you're having trouble, you can turn around and you can do it right along with me.
I don't know. Oh, this is a circle. I want that. What's that? What's a circle? Is that what you're talking about?
You can't ask, you gotta do it yourself, go as far as you can by yourself.
I don't know what a semicircle is.
Then skip that one, that's okay. Do as many as that you can figure out. They are,
One side of a circle.
you're doing exercise 4. They have to draw different two-dimensional geometric shapes. But starts on one side, 2 sides.
Only for some of us.
Okay.
By yourself.
Do the very best that you can. There's no right or wrong.
Wait, the hexagon is the stop sign, right?
That's okay. We'll come back to that one. It's
How
okay.
does this work?
Oh,
Heptagon.
heptagon.
What's a heptagon?
I don't know.
I don't even know this shit.
So look, it's 7 sides. So the hexagon has 6 sides, so the heptagon has 7. The octagon has 8. The nanogon has 9, and the decagon has 10.
I don't know one word you just said.
That's okay. Do the very best you can. So how do we know it's a shape? We know it's a shape because it has a what? It has a line. It has a line. And I've given you the answer as to how many lines are in that shape. So all you have to do is to connect the lines
Wait, hold on a minute.
to make the shape. Okay?
I don't know.
So is that
So then how do we get?
That is not. But you're close.
This is hard.
So
I don't know hexagon.
hexagon has 6 sides. Heptagon has 7. So now you have to make a 7-sided shape.
the one on the
I'm looking at skip it.
All right. All right, another 2 minutes.
There's no.
We're watching.
Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4. 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, man. Stop that. Where is it? Optical.
Just let it sit there.
Is it? Oh.
Alicia.
All right.
I still want to send it to
We're gonna get going. We're gonna start running through these one by one. Are you ready?
No.
A circle,
Easy.
1-sided. Semicircle, 1, 2.
Oh.
Half of a circle. Square. 1, 2, 4, 5.
What?
What's next?
Sorry.
That's okay. What's next?
Hexagon.
Hexagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we can get a little more creative. Now we've got 7. So, what can we do for 7? We can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 sides. It has 7 sides, but I can also do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, that was so
I can also do, let's see, what else can we do? We can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
An arrow.
An arrow. Okay? So there is no right or wrong answer. We can make the shape.
Octagon.
Okay? Octagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So I'm going to challenge you to finish the page. Finish up through 10. Now that I told you there's no right or wrong answers.
Oh, man.
Organic shapes. Organic shapes are free-form shapes. They don't have rules. They don't really have names for them. A lot of times we go, oh, that's a blob.
Yes.
A puddle, a lot of times, is an organic shape. It just takes up space wherever it wants, doesn't it? It fills in the hole, and then it kind of spews out and makes all different. That's an organic shape. That's nature-made. It's not man-made. So, exercise 5 is you're going to draw organic shapes. Organic shapes. That means that an organic shape doesn't have, it's not a circle, it's not a square. They're just shapes. A rock usually is an organic shape. It doesn't have a symmetrical, it's not perfectly organized. Sometimes they are.
Because you just said a rock. How did you get tree from a rock?
Trees are organic shapes.
Wait,
Trees are organic shapes because they're not perfectly, we'll draw a Christmas tree and we'll draw it with a triangle on top and a rectangle for a stem.
Last week, that
But
I'm gonna draw quickly.
that's not, that's, so you don't want to make a Christmas tree because a Christmas tree, look at, those are perfect, those look like triangles. Oh, but think of like a maple tree. A maple tree has a, it's an organic shape, has a big old.
Wait, so what's that?
So I'll draw some organic shapes up on the board. Ready? Here's an organic shape.
I told you organic.
There's an organic shape.
Ah, so squiggly one.
So here's an organic shape. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this. Look, that's an organic shape. It's a tree. It doesn't have. It's not perfectly round. It's not a perfect rectangle. But a lot of times that's how a tree can look.
You didn't even not see them.
Another shape that we're gonna learn about. There's no right or wrong. We're good. No, it's okay. So another thing that we're gonna talk about is 3D shapes. 3D shapes.
I think about 3D space.
Cones, cubes, spheres, and cylinders. So they have specific names. They're also man-made. Who is the cone's little brother or sister? The triangle, yes. How about the sphere? Yes. How about a cylinder? Oh, we've got a couple different answers. What do you think? I heard oval, I heard square, I heard circle. What's the right answer?
Sphere.
A sphere.
Is that right?
Nope. What's the cylinder?
Cylinder.
What's the cylinder's little brother or sister? An oval.
No.
A circle.
Rectangle.
A rectangle.
I don't know.
Why can't you guys agree?
A star.
Why can't you agree?
Is there a wrong answer? What's that?
No, there's two answers.
So, yeah, rectangle.
A rectangle and a circle, yes. How is it, so let's look at it. The question was, how can it be a circle? How can it be a rectangle? Let's look at it. So here's our lines,
That's me.
right here, okay? Look at the backboard, guys. Everybody look at the backboard. So, how can it be, how can a cylinder have both a square and a circle? So, here's our rectangle, right? But, we're looking at this straight on. What if we looked at it from the top? What if we changed and we're going to talk about this next week, what if we changed our perspective? Right now we're looking at it and we're looking at it straight on. What if we took that cylinder and we put it on the ground? What are we going to see?
Circle.
We're looking at it from the top now. And we're looking at it from the top and we're looking down on it and we see a circle. So that means that there's a circle in here.
Yes.
And there's a circle at the bottom. So that means that this line here is not actually a straight line. It's actually curved. Marker, I'm gonna have to bring in my own marker. So it's curved at the bottom. Do we see? Now we have a circle at the bottom. We have our rectangle. We have our circle at the top. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's how we have two. How come when I said, what is the triangles, or what is the cones, big little sister or little brother, everybody knew it was a triangle.
Yeah. It has the same look.
It has a triangle, but it also has a circle.
Really?
It has a circle at the bottom. Okay? So, that's what's going to make these three-dimensional, and when we're trying to figure out what the shape is, there's not always going to be one answer. And it doesn't mean that one person is necessarily right and one person is necessarily wrong, because there could be multiple answers. Organic forms of three-dimensional shapes, they don't really have names associated with them. Think about the tree, the maple tree that quick little maple tree that I made with the blob up on top and then the lines that came down. That's a three-dimensional organic form. Because trees are not cookie cutters. Okay. So, here's some definitions and some information about forms. Okay. So, light reacts from an object. And the light reflects off of the object, and that's how we get the look of something that's 3D. Okay? A highlight is where the area where the light is hitting the object directly. Okay? So, I'm going to hold up my mouse. Okay? My mouse. The highlight is the reflective point, where it's reflecting the light. But the reflective light that you see, the highlight, which is the lightest color, is going to look different for you than it is for you because you're sitting in different areas. So you're going to see it hit differently on the object.
It looks like a view.
Yeah. So if I turn it, and we're gonna look at that in just a couple minutes. Okay, and we're gonna try following along. So the highlight is the area where the light is hitting the object directly. The midtone, you're gonna hear them talk about midtones. That's the middle value of the color of the object. Okay. The core shadow is the area that's shaded on the object. So, on my mouse right now, the light is coming and it's hitting somewhere around the top of this.
Yeah.
The light's hitting there. Down here on the mouse is the core shadow. It's the darkest point on the mouse. Underneath is the darker shadow, is not the core shadow. The core shadow is actually the object, the darkest point that is on the actual object. Okay, that's important to understand. So the core shadow is the darkest point on the object. The cast shadow is the darkest point where the object is casting a shadow. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference?
Is the highlight for the white?
The white, yes, the highlight is the white. See? So your core shadow is going to be here, but this is your cast shadow. Okay? So your highlights up on the top here, that white reflective. This is your core shadow, and this is your cast shadow. Value. Value is important. Value is the light or the dark of a color. How light is a color or how dark is that color, okay? We see things because light reflects off the object and it goes into our eyes. Our mind processes the light and it figures out what we're seeing. It rationalizes it. It says, okay, I can see that when we're looking at the mouse, I can see that this is white on top and it's really light, and I can see down here at the bottom that it's darker, and I can see that the hand is dark underneath. And it rationalizes, and it does a lot of math, like computing, to figure out that something looks 3D. And so it's the way that we teach our brains about 3D is just, I see it, but then I touch it. And my brain takes all of that information, and so the next time I go to touch it, it knows where to touch and it knows what it is. So when I see it sitting on my hand, it's able to process what it already touched. Does that make sense? So, value is the key to the illusion of light. This is important to understand. You have to understand value. Okay? Without the light, we can't see anything. In order to draw or paint in a way that creates an illusion of what we normally see, we must understand light and how it reacts on surfaces. This next part is really important, and this is a big part of your homework. So we did a lot of talk about lines and things like that, but a big part of your homework is going to be working on value and shading is predominantly what your homework assignments are going to be this week. Okay, so highlights and shadows, they combine together to give the illusion of a light source. What's a highlight? The brightest point on the object. Okay, and what's a cast shadow? Thank you. The cast shadow is the underneath of it. It's the core shadow is the object's darkest point.
Oh.
The core shadow is the object's darkest point. The cast shadow is what the object is casting. It's blocking the light underneath it. Okay? So that's really important. So, highlights, areas on object where the light is hitting. Shadows, areas on objects where the light does not hit it. I love this next picture. I can't wait to share it with you. Look at this lion.
Someone draw that?
No, this is a photograph.
Oh, cute.
This is a photograph.
I was gonna say.
Let's look at this photograph, though. What do we have going on here? Can somebody tell me? Yes, it's a lion. Can somebody tell me where the cast shot or where the highlight is?
And it's here.
In its hair? Where?
Like,
Face.
near the shadow.
That's okay. Yell it out.
Like, this front of his name, like, the first.
Here.
Yeah, like that whole strip of paper.
And his head.
So you're telling me that right here, Lindsay, does everybody agree that this is the highlight?
No.
Oh, why?
Yeah.
No, I heard a no. Where do you think the highlight is, hon?
I think it's on the tooth.
You think it's on the tooth?
Or maybe, like, right here on his face, like.
On his
just
cheek.
trying to point out.
I think it's on his tooth because the other teeth over.
Okay. So how many still think that it's the main here? How many think it's the tooth? How many think it's neither one and it's something else?
I think it's both.
Okay, tell me where. So if it's not the main, it's not the tooth. Tell me where.
The eyelid or where the nose is.
Here? Tell me where. You gotta tell me.
Above.
Here? Okay. Or where else?
Where his nose is.
Here?
No.
Down.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay. How many think that it's that instead of the main or the tooth? No? Okay. Where do you think it is?
On the side of the face.
On the side of the face? You think that it's here? Isn't that interesting? We're all looking at the same exact photograph, but we're all seeing it differently. Now, let me ask you this. Have everybody stand up. Stand up and make one line right here. Come on. Come on.
That's called sitting for like the hour.
Stand here. Look at the picture. Decide where you think the brightest point is. And then I want you to go stand over there and tell me if it's and then go back to your seat and decide if it's the same point. Nope, go over more. Over to the black dots. Okay, now go to your seat and tell me, we'll talk after. You're going to stand here. You're going to look at the picture. Decide where the highlight on the picture is. Don't tell me. Go stand over on those dots and look at the picture and see if it's in the same spot. And then sit. So you're going to look at the picture, decide where the highlight is, and then go over to there and see if the highlight is the same, if you think it's the same thing. And then come back and then go sit. We'll talk when everybody's done it. Then you go over to there and decide if you still see the same highlights. If it's in the same spot, don't say anything, just go ahead and sit. Perception. All right, by a show of hands, how many people changed their mind at what the highlight was when they went over to the other spot? Okay. How many people saw the same exact thing? Okay. How many people, when you were standing up here, changed what you believed the highlight was from when you were sitting in your seat?
A brighter one?
Yes, than what they originally thought. So just about everybody saw something different standing up than they did when they were sitting, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody not notice anything different at all? No. There's multiple reasons why. Everybody was very much right when you said that you picked out the highlight points. You picked out this part in the mane, this part in the nose, this part above the eye, this part in the nose, that tooth. You were all correct. Those are all highlight points. Okay? The problem is that everybody's going to see it differently because of where you're sitting in the room, and we have lights and a shiny TV screen. So this shiny TV screen changes your reflective viewpoint. And everybody's sitting at different angles in the room. So what you're seeing is going to reflect differently when you're standing over here versus when you're standing over there versus when you're standing right in front of it. Which is the reason I made all of you get up and stand in the same exact spot and walk to the same exact spot. It's going to change. So our perceptions change. we're gonna watch this video, and you have the option of, with your blank pieces of paper, trying to draw along with it, okay? We're gonna draw along. If you can't keep up, don't worry. Like I said in the beginning of class, everybody's getting an email with all of the videos. Yep. Everybody's going to get the videos emailed to them so that you can follow along, you can rewatch the videos, and you can practice.
Hey, I'm Darlene, and you're watching a rapid fire art tutorial. When you add light and shadow to your line drawings, you can make your subject come to life by creating the illusion of form and depth. You can make a flat line drawing jump right off the page. In order to shade better, you'll need to practice 3 things: pressure control, how to shade smoothly, and most importantly, understand how light behaves. I'm going to walk you through all 3 things, and then we'll shade something together. Pressure control. Realistic shading is done by creating a series of values ranging from light to dark. The harder I press down on the pencil, the darker the strokes. Portraits displaying a limited value range can end up looking very flat, while portraits with a wider value range will pop. To have good pressure control, practice shading from one end of your sketchbook to the other, while pressing harder and harder until the values get darker gradually. Another way to practice is to draw a long rectangle and divide it into several squares. Fill the squares from right to left. Start with the darkest value you can possibly make, and work your way towards the lightest.
Remember, I told you she is moving fast. Don't worry if you can't keep up. This is just so that you have an understanding before
It's
you go
important to
home.
maintain a consistent pressure between each back and forth stroke, or each individual stroke. This will take some practice and concentration to develop the muscle memory for. If you're interested in the tools I use and want to learn more about the different pencil types, check out the link below. Some tools can make shading easier for you, but you absolutely do not need any special pencils to get started, because you can draw and shade realistically with pretty much anything that can make light to dark marks. Here, let me show you. I'm going to draw using this random stick I found in my kitchen. Once it's burnt, I can use it just like a regular. My point is that any old pencil will do. There is no reason why you can't start shading today.
And this is why we're
Really, the
starting
most
without the
important thing
pencils,
is just to
without
start.
our kits. We have everything that you need.
How to shade smoothly. To shade smoothly, try to eliminate major gaps between your strokes while maintaining good pressure control. Now, it's difficult to eliminate gaps if your pencil is sharp. So what you can do is wear the pencil down until the tip is dull, or use the side of the lead to draw, so your strokes are thicker.
Oh, I see
If you're
everybody that
shading a
sharpened their
large area
pencils.
and want to avoid these dark stripes, avoid using your writing grip while pivoting at the wrist.
This
Instead,
is good
use
to
an
watch.
overhand
Look
grip
at how
and
she's
pivot
holding
from
her
your elbow
pencil,
and shoulder
guys.
to achieve much longer strokes. Just remember to keep those strokes close together, eliminating gaps that can make your drawing look scratchy. Understanding light. Have you ever tried shading something over and over without it looking even close to your subject? For most beginners, shading is probably a guessing game. That's totally what it was for me. Until I learned a few basics about light, things just started making more sense. Knowing where to correctly add light or shadow can make a really big difference in how realistic your artwork will come across. I'm going to use a sphere to point out the different elements of light, because the patterns are a lot easier to point out than a complex
This is a
form such
review
as
for
the
what we
movie
just
or
went
TV.
over.
Here we have a plain wooden ball with a light source coming down from the top left. We have 2 distinct sides. The light side, which is facing the light source, and the shadow side, which is turned
Make sure
away.
you guys are paying attention.
At the edge of our shadow, we have something called a core shadow, which is a dark strip running along the boundary between the two sides. The core shadow is most visible on a white table because white is highly reflective. Light rays come down, bounce off the table, and illuminates the shadow side of the ball, leaving a dark band. So as you can see, we have two types of light,
Look how
direct
cool
light
that looks.
and reflected light. That's
Same
why
wall,
shadows are
didn't
rarely
move.
all black.
The light moves.
There are so many things in the environment that light can reflect off of. Walls, nearby objects,
your
or
core
even just
shadow.
particles floating around in the air. Do keep in mind that black surfaces absorb light.
Just by changing
So
the
in
light.
this example, the core shadow is no longer visible. Going back to the image of the nose, can you tell which areas are lit by reflections and where the core shadows are?
Here's your reflected light. Here's your highlight.
I see the hundred.
There's your core shadow. See how dark it got?
As mentioned earlier, light can reflect off of many things in the environment, but they have a difficult time bouncing their way into tight spaces, such as the area where the ball touches the table. This is called inclusion shadow. And this is a cast shadow, which appears when a form blocks light from reaching another. In this case, the ball is blocking light from reaching the table. The cast shadow can tell you where the light source is coming from. All you have to do is trace the edges against your object. How many cast shadows can you find on the nose?
Oh my god, wait. Should be so proud.
Let's move on to the light side of the ball. On this side, there are only three things I need to point out. There's the core light, which is the area facing the light directly. Then there's the highlight, which is actually a reflection of the light source. This is the brightest point on the object. The edges can appear soft on matte surfaces, like this wooden ball, or hard on shiny surfaces, such as a plastic ball. And as unintuitive as it seems, the highlight can change position depending on where you're standing. The very last thing are midtones, or halftones. Midtones are the darkest values on this side of the ball, where the edges start curving away from the light source. These areas receive less and less light the more they angle away. Can you point out the core light, highlight, and midtones on the nose? Shade with me. Let's shade an apple together without looking at any reference images. With our basic knowledge of how light behaves, we can essentially draw from our imagination. We might not be very accurate, but it's a great way to actively think about how light behaves.
This is an
First,
exercise
sketch
for you
your
to
apple.
be able to
It
work
doesn't
on
have to
this
be
week.
perfect at all. Just try to get something down on your sketchbook. Try to keep your outlines as light as possible. My sketch is extra dark, so you guys can see it better.
Keep it light.
We wanted to
Keep it
sit on a
real light.
table, so draw the edge of that table behind your apple.
That's okay. That's why this is practice. She said that she's doing it dark so that you can see it
Then
for the
erase
camera to
any
pick it up.
unneeded
But
lines.
you wanna, when you start
The
drawing
next
your
step
outline,
is to determine where the light is coming from. Let's have one shining down from the top left. Draw a little flashlight or sun just to remember where it is. Where the apple blocks light from reaching the table, let's draw a cast shadow. You can use a ruler to find the cast shadow's length. Just align it to your light source and the edge of the apple. Now we know how long to draw the cast shadow. I'm just going to draw a long oval shape. Where the dotted lines touch the apple, we have our boundary between the light and shadow side. Let's say the apple is sitting on a white table. How do you think the shadow side will look, taking reflected light into consideration? Draw a core shadow, making sure the thickest section is the darkest. Where the apple touches the table, there's less light, So let's shade that area darker. Now that I've taken care of those two areas, I'm going to fill in the rest of the shadow side by adding a flat layer of graphite that is lighter than the core shadow. Once you're done, soften the transition between each area to avoid that hard edge between light and dark values. Now don't forget to soften the bottom portion as well. If you're shading an object with a matte surface, an abrupt or immediate transition can indicate a sharp edge, while a gradual transition can indicate a round edge. Since cast shadows are darkest near the object they're being cast from, I'm going to shade the area directly under the apple darker than the far right. How bright do you want the light side of the apple to be? It's totally up to you. Pick a light value and then shade the entire space flatly. The next thing we need to do is blend the two distinct sides of our apple so it all comes together nicely. Where the form turns away from the direct light, add your midtones, which will immediately make the surface appear rounder.
Well, remember, she's doing it on a video, so it doesn't.
When you're done, use an eraser to indicate the highlight.
It's okay. We're gonna talk about it. This was your first
If
time
you want
trying
your drawing
it,
to
it's
pop
okay.
out of the page, exaggerate some of those values to create depth. If
Don't
your
get
drawing consists of
frustrated,
mostly
guys.
just
Remember, I
light
told you
grays,
you
try to
don't
get a bright highlight
struggle.
and some darker values.
I'm setting you guys up for the next step. I
Now
don't
outlines
expect it to
make
come
the
out
drawing look
perfect.
cartoony, so make sure they blend in with your shading, or erase them as you go along. Definitely try to make your initial sketches as light as possible so they don't show through in the end. If they're too dark to erase, you can shade a dark background until they disappear. Practice. Place a few objects on a table.
Okay. I see some people are frustrated. I don't want you to feel frustrated. This was the advanced part of the class. This was your extra. Okay? This was the extra. This was I like to make sure that I'm setting you guys up so that you want to work on your homework. How many people aren't happy with the way that they were trying to shade? I guess you better do your homework. Your homework this week is going to be your last couple exercises. So I'm gonna explain it more, but we're gonna do exercise 6, 7, and 8. Okay? Exercise 6, 7, and 8. 6 and 7 are specifically just working on shading. So in your kits, you're going to see everybody has a color wheel in their kits. Okay? I know I told you we're not using the color wheels. Okay? We're not using, because we're not starting with using any type of color until class what? 3. Okay? But what I want you to try doing is I want you to look at the color wheel, and you're going to work on shading and trying to create your own wheel of shading. Okay? So you're going to have in the very center on this color wheel page. We have one more video that I'm going to show you, but I saw everybody getting really frustrated, so I wanted to go over this. So you have 3 sections of your triangle, okay? You're going in between the black and the gray, you're gonna go find something in the middle of those two. And you're gonna put that there. Okay? And then in between the black and the white, you're gonna find a middle point and you're gonna put that there. You drag that out to the center and you want to create a shaded wheel around the outside. You can't do that exercise until you practice using the shading. Okay? So we have a bunch of pencils in your kits. They're all numbered. And this can be very confusing, so I want everybody to hear me. Okay? You have a bunch of pencils in your kits. Okay? They're all in order. I don't take them all out all at once, but they start with 6H, 4H, 2H, H. This one should be F, F, HB, B, 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, and 6B. What does all that mean? And then we have, what are these over here? We have even more pencils over here. These pencils are, it says, these are charcoal pencils. Soft, medium, hard. What are we supposed to do with those?
Shade. Shade, yeah.
Yes, we're going to use them for shading. Here's your very last video. I encourage you to watch it, pay attention to it, and this is going to be one of the videos that you really are going to again and again to get to understand how to teach you how to use your art supplies. Okay? The only way that you learn to use the art supplies is by using them. And so you're going to watch this video, then use your pencils, and then watch the video again, and then use the pencils again, and watch the video again, and then use the pencils again. By doing that and watching this video, you're going to learn how to use the pencil. So when I say to you, what comes first, the 2B or the 4B, you're going to have an answer, and you're going to know. But right now, you don't know. So this is so that you can learn how to use the pencils that are given to you in your kit.
Hello everybody and welcome to this episode of Draw Talk. I hope you're all doing good. Now what do I have for you today? Well, what about a brand new set of unopened Faber-Castell pencils? And for good reason. This set has 12 pencils in it, ranging from 2H all the way to 8B. And now you might be thinking, Dan, why do these pencils have all these different letters and numbers on it, and what does it mean? And so I'm going to explain all of that today, straight after the intro.
This is another artist that will be watching more of his videos and using his. He does a really great job explaining. We're going to use him again next week talking about perspective.
Now I'm expecting to do a few more shading tutorials in the future, but before I do that, I want to make sure that I have pencil grades covered, explain how they work and why you should pay attention to them. And I know that a few of you might already understand how it all works, but I just want to make sure before we move on to more advanced things that we have the basics covered. So for the purpose of this video, I went out and bought a brand new set of pencils, and I do have some more of these lying about somewhere, but they're just scattered everywhere and I probably couldn't find every one of them. So it made more sense for me to buy a brand new box, and then I can talk you through it. So let me just get this over. Okay, so in this set we have 12 pencils, which I mean is quite a lot. There is a set that has 6 pencils in it, but it doesn't have any of the hard pencils. I believe that starts at like a HB and goes to an 8B or something. But once this is open, you'll notice that one of these pencils have fallen out here. But not only that, you'll also notice that each one of them has its own specific pencil grade. Now I've done a video in the past where I created this animation that sort of explains it, but let me try to explain again the reason for these grades, and then we can move on to how you can benefit from it. So to make this easier to explain, I have drawn out 12 boxes. As you can see, I've laid out each of these pencils above this, and I've laid them out in the exact same order that they came in when they were in the box, and that order is from soft to hard, which is essentially the same thing as dark to light. Now we have pencils with a B behind the number, and then H behind the number. Now in this set, we only have like a few H's, most of them are B's, and we have a 2H, a H, and a HB. You can get sets of pencils that have a lot more H's and the same amount of B's, but in this one we are just left with the majority of B's. So the letter B here stands for the blackness. The blackness of the pencil.
So B stands for
the pencil is softer. The letter H stands for the hardness. The harder the pencil is, the most likely it is to create lighter marks on the paper.
What's going to give you a darker line, an H pencil or a B pencil?
And of course we know
Yes.
that the B stands for blackness, so this pencil that has a B on its own got a number in front of it, that basically comes before the 2B. So essentially the 2B should be darker than this B pencil. And then we have the HB, which is a combination of hard black, which is sort of in the middle. It's a very popular pencil. You usually find these pencils.
You've been working with an
So
HB
now that we have the letters
all night.
is
That
actually the
HB is a number 2 pencil, which is what you've been working with.
numerical grading scale here, that basically
It says
is how
Yes.
good it actually is. So for instance,
Number 2 pencil is an
blackness of
HB.
pencils at 4B should be darker than a 2B, and an 8B being the darkest, which obviously that's a high number. And the same works the other way around as well. So the higher the number on the H side, that means the lighter that pencil will be, because that means the harder the actual lead in that pencil is. I've just realised as well that these two pencils need to be switched around. Usually it goes from a H to a 2H to a 3H and onwards, like these B pencils I've done here. But unfortunately, I don't have any of them pencils to show you. But you don't really rely too much on the harder pencils. It's mainly just these pencils because these let you get them dark tones that stand out more. I hope all that makes sense. So if you're struggling to still understand what I mean, then I'm going to demonstrate now by actually using these pencils and shaping in these 12 boxes.
This
so
is
that
what
those
you're going
12
to
boxes
do
finish
for
with that
homework
will have a solid
on
gradient.
exercise.
Okay, so
6.
whilst this is in time lapse, let me go ahead and talk to you about the pencil grades and actually using them. Now you can see I've started with the 8B. This is the darkest pencil in the set, which means
So
the
you're
lead
going to start with the darkest side.
One thing about the softer lead is that it will dull faster than the harder leads and require more frequent sharpness. Honestly, if you are applying a lot of pressure
Yep.
using one of these soft pencils, trying to get those really solid.
So what
white
he's
curves,
doing is he's using the darkest that he can and pressing as hard as he can to get each one of these to show the different variations just for the pencil, just for how dark it can actually color. He's pressing the same amount of pressure
It'll be a lot more consistent.
for every single one of
Now, another
those.
thing I want to talk about is how you don't necessarily need all of these pencils. For instance, if I
Listen to
use a
this.
4B, I could most likely achieve the same shades as I would with a 6B by just applying more pressure on the paper. You can see that there isn't much of a change in the results of these soft pencils, even though I'm applying the same consistent amount of pressure throughout. But as we move on, you'll eventually see that the gradient does get lighter as we work our way down. You'll find that
Another
softer
thing to
pencils
see,
lay down on
see
the
how
paper
you
a
see
lot
his
nicer
stroke
than these
marks?
hard ones.
Yeah.
As we get
Remember
to the
how
more
we
harder
saw
leads,
in one of the
you see
earlier
that
videos how
these
she said
curves
use
become more
your arm,
thinner.
use
Now,
your
even
work
though
from
I
the
don't
shoulder,
have
and that
orange pencil,
because he's working in a
still
small
imagine
box,
just
it's harder to
looking
do,
how it would
but you
gradually
can
get
still
You'll most likely
get
find yourself using
cleaner
softer
lines by
and
not
darker
you won't
pencils
get them that way by
compared to the
using
harder
little lines. You want to
ones.
use longer
And that's why this
strokes.
set is ideal for me, because it gives you the ones that I tend to use the most.
Wow.
So look how neat
So
that
finally
is.
we have our 12 boxes.
So you
filled in.
have the
And
darkest
we
pencil,
go
and you
down
have
the
all,
line
and yours
forward.
goes even lighter than
Now
this
feel free to go
in your
ahead
kits.
and screenshot this.
Okay, yep.
It's easy to refer to
You go
it.
6B, you go 6H
Hopefully, as
to
you become
6B.
more used to it, it'll just become more natural and you won't have to even think about it so much. And also you might even improve the control of the pencil so that you can just apply more pressure onto the paper and be able to achieve all these different tones just by using the one pencil anyway. So there we go. If you was having trouble getting your head around pencil grades, I hope that this video could clear some.
Okay. So your homework assignment is for exercise 6. You're going to want to use different pencils, and I want you to mark down on the side what pencils you use. So you're going to create your own graph, your own darkness to hardness. So pick one of the pencils and press as hard as you can, and then work towards getting lighter and lighter and lighter all the way down. Okay? And then you're going, so that's exercise 6. I went over exercise 7 already. Exercise 8, if you get a chance to do it, then that's great. Exercise 8 is, we talked about 3D geometric shapes. See if you're able to figure out how to do them using shading. You can use cross hatching, or you can use the shading that we did using the pencils where you just watched the video. Okay, you can use either way, but I want you to try and create 3D shapes using shading. Okay. Bonus assignment is make me an apple. Draw me an apple. That's bonus. That's just a bonus. Try drawing an apple using the